Welcome back to this month's Roundtable, your all-in-one comprehensive view of what's happening across the real estate industry, straight from some of the industry's earliest technology adopters and foremost experts in technology, brokerage, marketing, government policy, capital, construction, cybersecurity. As always, this is a three-part show: introductions, what's new for each Roundtable host in their business sector. Then we dive deep, unpack the latest and greatest in news, paradigm shifts, the pull and push of the industry. And lastly, what it means for your business, how you can take what you heard here tonight and improve over the next 30 days to outpace your competition. I'm Andreas, Senie, founder of CRECollaborative, brokerage owner and technology growth strategist for both the nonprofit and for-profit sectors. And joining me this month is none other than Saul, Klein, Realtor Emeritus, data advocate, Futurist, belated birthday, and President San Diego Multiple Listing Service. There he is, with his boards and all. All right, Saul, nice to see you. Also joining us, none other than Rebecca Carlson, founder, owner, CEO, Carlson Integrated, a woman-owned company here in Women's History Month. Right, Becca, nice to see you.
Great to see you.
And Anna Maria Kowalik, VP, CPACE, Green Financing, yet another woman here in our world, in the women-owned business sector, kicking butt and growing in the commercial estate space overall. Certainly not last or not least, also joining us, Dan Wagner, Senior VP, Government Relations, Inland. Chris Abel couldn't join us tonight, and Darren Hayes sadly could not be here, but I think we can handle it, guys. So nice to see you. Today, Saul, you're to my right in our Brady Bunch film. Tell me what's going on. Introduce yourself to the audience, the industry. Where are you and who are you today?
So I'm on your right. I'm Saul Klein, and I'm in San Diego. I'm in my office at the San Diego Multiple Listing Service, where I'm the CEO. Took over the job December 18th. It's a comeback job. As you mentioned, I turned 75 years old on Sunday. It was a great birthday, and I had a lot of fun. And I was retired for about 10 years, and it's just a great feeling to be 75 and have somebody want to hire you. So I'm very happy.
I can't believe you're 75. It's a start, but I'm loving it. All right, back in the saddle. Back up to Saul's right, at least on my screen. Who are you and what's happening in the industry?
Hey, I'm Becca Carlson, and as you said, I'm the founder of Carlson Integrated, and it has been a really kind of crazy marketing world lately. Google released a new algorithm change this month, which is the fourth in 6 months. So there have been substantive algorithm changes that have been rolling out. LinkedIn is doing some interesting things. I don't know if anybody else has noticed, they're deprecating hashtags. They started quietly in September, but hashtags were actually removed from all of our profiles. You may not have noticed. It wasn't done in a public manner. They just aren't there anymore. They just moved that little section outside of the top of our profiles. February had e-blast verifications because of some Gmail and Yahoo issues that any mass email provider had to do new verifications, adding DKIM records to their actual domains in order to get emails out. So I will tell you, it has been technologically a really intense marketing season. Not to mention, I have 4 clients that are exhibiting at ICSC in Las Vegas, and convention season is well underway. It's nonstop meetings, networking, conventions, everything you name it. 2024 is off to an incredibly amazing and chaotic and unique start. I'll give you that.
So truly it is more in 24 quote last month. Here as we move forward. And who's who and where to be? Las Vegas, ICSC, Inland, and Becca's Luncheon. Years in the making and truly a great event. Dan Wagner over there at the Inland banner. How are you, sir? Nice to see you as always.
Great to see you. Great to see everybody. My gosh, Saul, I would say you were 39. I would never say 75.
I'd say timeless, right?
Timeless. Oh my gosh, you're going to live to be 120.
He has to. I need him here for the show for a long time.
Well, in Chicago, we were pretty upset with the the mayor of Chicago's transfer tax. He's going to put on the ballot initiative to basically triple the transfer tax for any property that's over $1 million. And we had our coalition that's fighting that was able to go to court through BOMA, and they were able to stop it at the just regular circuit court. But the appellate court just came back today and said, no, the circuit court is wrong, and it's going to be back on the ballot. So it's going to be one of those things where people are asked on the ballot. It says, should millionaires pay more money in taxes or something like that? It's just crazy. And as we know, Chicago is so much into I hate to say into a death spiral with there's no cranes of development happening in Chicago that it used to be. We have people that are wanting to invest in Chicago, but these kind of marks by the elected officials does not generate people wanting to invest their money in Chicago. So we're trying to stop we're trying to stop it as coalitions. The Realtors are involved. I know the National Association of Realtors is spending, I think, $850,000 to try to stop it, but it's going to be really difficult because it's really being portrayed as the haves are going to be giving to the have-nots. And one of the Chicago Tribune is against it. All sane people are against it, but it's going to be hard to stop it. Hopefully we can. There is no plan at this time for the $100 million that they expect to get. There's no plan to spend it. They just are saying, let's pass this and trust us to spend it how we want to. So that's the deal right now. And I will stop there.
So things continue to get dicey in Chicago. Come visit me in Connecticut. Matter of fact, invest here.
It breaks your heart because it's such a great location. I mean, location. You plant your headquarters in Chicago, and you got O'Hare Airport. You could go to the coast in a half a day. Less than that to the East Coast.
I consider the leadership of the associations, our respective associations, regardless of sector, SAOR, CCIM, NICAR, otherwise, they're all in Chicago.
Yeah.
For a reason. But Connecticut does lead the country in kids going to college, and so that's the future of But Anna Maria, the greenest, easiest to get green in the nation today. How are things going then?
There we go. Very well. So I'm Anna Maria Kowalik with Inland Green Capital. And yes, next to my cohort, Dan Wagner, we are part of the Inland Group of real estate companies. We sit under the parent umbrella banner, and very proud to be part of such. What we do is CPACE financing. And for those of you who are new to the show, it's worth a little reminder because I wasn't on last month and it's been a while since I've given my spiel. So here we go. It's commercial property assessed clean energy financing, CPACE in the acronym, is up to 100% fixed rate long-term financing. It's a great economic development tool that can be used for any energy efficiency, renewable energy, water conservation, or resiliency project. And we, as the capital providers, receive private equity monies that are put into private projects. And so because its name is what it says it is, commercial property assessed, it is a debt instrument repaid via the special assessment mechanism on the tax bill. And as such, with all the varying state tax laws being different, this needs to be legislated state by state. And in brief summary, 38 states and Washington, D.C. are part of the program. And then once the legislation is enabled state by state, then a program to facilitate the transactions based on the state statutes and around which guidelines and policies and procedures are built to be able to get that transaction processed between the deal stakeholders and the local governmental taxing authorities. So programs develop. So Inland Green Capital, in summary, can finance anywhere that CPACE is enabled and has an active state program to facilitate the financing. And so it's a great tool. It has many benefits to the commercial property owner. And I just recommend to anybody who doesn't know about it to learn more, come to www.inlandgreencapital.com and we can give you more information, and you can connect directly with me or connect with me on LinkedIn.
So, and just a quick question, and then a point of clarification. Yes. CPACE is not slowing down. While there's been some concern that other loan types, permanent loans, banks are slowing down, CPACE has continued to accelerate.
It most certainly is. For one thing, it's a question of its maturity. As an industry, we're very young. And in fact, I was on a call yesterday where, all of us.
Inland's 51 years into this. Hold on.
What's that?
Inland's 51 years into it.
No, we're 56 years plus into the real estate industry. But the CPACE financing is only about 14, 15 years old in the U.S. And so this is we're in our tween kinds of years. And a little beyond infancy, but more and more people are finding out about it. It's not the kind of thing, and sorry, Becca, from a marketing perspective, you can't put it on a billboard. It's difficult to market. It's more about the real estate relationships and building confidence and trust in the product itself, which really works very well and can help get sustainability projects to fruition that might not otherwise happen.
Well, so there's my point of clarification. Not just sustainability projects, right? Inland's also responsible for creating the DST. You have taken initiatives from infancy to regulation to common day, everyday practice.
Yeah, and Dan Wagner can talk to DSTs and 1031s and securities and other things.
I think Becca's coming to get you on the marketing side, but sure.
Yeah, not quite ad nauseum, but definitely he can talk it all out. But what I do under the Inland Green Capital brand is specifically CPACE financing. And then you were asking, and not to take over the show here, although Saul, we were a little disappointed when you joined because although we love you, we thought it was going to be the Chicagoland show tonight.
I'm in Connecticut.
But anyway, just to your point, Andreas, about how CPACE is progressing. So yes, part one is that it's progressed just because it's maturing as an industry. But number two, given the volatility of the markets, the rising interest rates, people are actually using this now. In many states, retroactive financing for CPACE is available. And what that means is there is a look back period whereby, and it differs from state to state, whereby projects that have already been done can come to the table if they meet all the qualifications and recapitalize their properties through doing a CPACE financing on those energy efficiency improvements already installed.
Assuming they did them, or else they need them.
Right, exactly. As long as it was within a period, say a look back of maybe here in Illinois, it's 36 months maximum. And so that's what we're seeing a lot of. So where business has picked up primarily this year is in the retroactive financing area.
I think everyone's looking at and finding ways for passive income, alternative income, accelerated depreciation, right? So on our side, on the brokerage side, while mortgage rates, 5 and 6, not 13, completely workable. It's been done for many, many years. The biggest hiccup we're finding are resi agents dabbling in our area because there's no inventory in the commercial side, in the residential side, and they're crossing over. And deals are kind of getting stuck. And I would tell the war stories if I could, but I can't. But call me, I'll let you know afterwards. So CPACE is there, it's working, it's funding. Dan's out there moving things forward. Darren has actually joined us as well. Darren Hayes is out there protecting us. So he says. No, I know he is. There he is. Cybersecurity, top 10 in the country, forensic specialist. Quite a background there, Darren, excuse me. And then as far as Dan's statement about the haves giving to the have-nots, well, it's industry that's growth. There's always the haves helping the have-nots and the have-nots helping the haves. That's, I think, a symbiotic relationship. So I can't go down that route with you. I can say Becca's going to argue with Anna Maria on marketing. You can absolutely market anything. And Saul will tell you he's been through these cycles, so they're fine. The message comes through. But I leave it to you two, Saul and Becca.
Well, I think sales and marketing integration is the only way that marketing works, quite frankly. So if frontline sales says we need this communication strategy, or this is what we're hearing, the feedback we're hearing from our constituents, then marketing can adopt and adapt the appropriate support system for sales. That's the only way that marketing actually works. So the complexity of the CPACE product does require actual explanation, but it's building that. And Anna Maria does such a great job of this. She builds this momentum around the message that makes you want more, that makes you inquisitive to learn more. And I think that starting with the basic tenets of what CPACE is and does, and then building a program around how to educate, that's what Anna Maria does. She presents all over and she does fantastic programs. I've seen her in person multiple times talking about the CPACE product so that practitioners, so that owners, so that third-party adjacent, real estate adjacent professionals understand so that they can make those referrals and those referrals can be warm. And I love, she has great materials, by the way, Andreas. They're fantastic.
Well, I have the support of the Inland Group of companies. So our marketing team is tremendous and they do a great job. Of course, I do guide a lot of that, but thank you so much for the compliments. I don't take them only as compliments because this role is basically about education. And you said it, and that's what I do day in, day out, every day. And so, and I think Saul could attest to the importance of education. I love his, he comes out with daily commercial real estate terms and it's just wonderful, to get that daily refresher. And it's like, oh, wow, maybe there was just one little thing that I didn't know in the definition. And he does such a great job of that. So, that's what it's all about, getting the word out there and educating people.
Well, overcoming fear of missing out and then actually educating. So that starts with a person, and literally Saul carrying a bag to all the MLSs, to, let's see, Darren carrying a different bag saying, I'll save you now that you screwed up. And
Professor
Hayes, sorry, but and all respect due, right? And then the same for all of us. I mean, we've all educated and all helped educate our customers, our clients, our prospects. It's part of what we do. Mm-hmm. But Saul, given it was just your birthday, and now I know you're 75, and I still don't believe it, as the original educator and enthusiast and evangelist, what do you think?
Well, you turn off my mute. So I think you're absolutely right. An educated customer is a better customer. And the more people know about the product, the better off everybody is. And so I've always loved the teaching aspect of sales, because you get to teach people things that are valuable to them. And so, Anna Marie, you're right. I love to post every day. Something as simple as definitions, right? So learning real estate one word at a time. You sit down, it'll take a long time to learn about real estate. But if you're in social media every day and you just read a piece every day, I guarantee you're going to learn something. You're going to learn how to put it to work in your business. It's going to be part of a conversation. So education is critical, and it makes for better sales. It makes for better customers. And I want to talk about something that Dan mentioned, this idea of this transit tax. And so in California, this is really the haves and have-nots. You mentioned that. In California, we've got something we call the mansion tax. And the mansion tax, and they tried it in LA, it doesn't make any money because people decide not to sell their property. And so it's like any property over like $5 million, they throw an extra 5% on it. Well, what happened was people decided not to sell their property. And so in San Diego now, they're talking about the mansion tax, and it's any property over $2 million. And I was it was interesting. I went to an open house. It was a $17 million house in La Jolla overlooking the ocean. And I was asked to speak about data and multiple listing service issues. And one of my partners was asked to speak about the mansion tax and the taxation. And $2 million in La Jolla, everything's a mansion because everything's more expensive than $2 million. And then the next piece is, where do they go? How do they spend this money? Is there accountability for it? The argument that you hear is it's not fair that the wealthy people, right? I mean, it's this same old argument, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help the economy at all. In Santa Monica, I think the city council just passed something where if you have somebody move out of one of your rentals, and for just about any reason, if it's a one bedroom, you have to pay the tenant $15,000. If it's a two bedroom, you have to pay the tenant $25,000. We used to call it the People's Republic of Santa Monica because they were one of the first places in the country to have rent controls, which are totally destructive. And what about the mom and pop? So, don't feel like you're all alone in Chicago with these types of initiatives, because we got them in California and they're hard to beat back. We have one where they're going to, it's a proposition that just passed, Proposition 1, where we're going to help the homeless. We're going to help the people who have mental illness. And it's a bond issue. And a bond's just another way to tax. And people but there's a caveat in this that says, but really the government can spend the money any way they like. So there's never any accountability for it. They just have a way to collect more money. In California, they're running a $73 billion deficit, and the state's not like the federal government. They can't print money. And so how are they going to raise the money to cover the deficit? And you got to go after the big pool of money. And the big pool of money is the real estate. So we can expect more of these types of things, I think, moving into the future. How do you fight them? How do you push them back? We've talked about this every time we get together, Dan. It's like, the only organization really to push this back are realtor organizations. Yep. Really, they're willing to kind of fight and push back against this social phenomena of confiscation, because that's really what it is.
That's a really good point. Confiscation is a really good word, because those mom and pops that own those apartments, they're trying just to pay their bills, and they're not billionaires, and even the billionaire companies are the ones that are like REITs. They're paying for people to have their retirement funds in REITs, and so people are making money. The average person gets their money to buy food and stuff from their retirement pensions, and so a lot of pension money is based in REITs. And so when people say, let's go after all those fat cats, they're talking about the themselves in many ways, but they don't know it because it's so hard to educate people about that. But it's good that we're on this call to make sure people are aware of it. And gosh, there are just some really great places to want to invest. I know that inland, when we're out looking at buying stuff, like we had 40,000 apartments in Chicago at one time, and now we did with Mr. Goodwin was alive. He had us not buy anything in Chicago, and he sold everything because he saw this progressive wave coming. And so I think we have 100 apartment units in Chicago at this moment. We used to have 40,000, and it was brilliant that he got out of it because they're, besides this transfer tax, they're looking at rent control. This Brendan Johnson, he's a very nice person, but his ideas are incredibly. He's the mayor of Chicago. They are very, very liberal, and it's just hurting the business climate in Chicago.
Well, as I said, come to Connecticut, buy commercial real estate. It's stable. Live here a long time. Kids go. But Inland did well. You stopped buying in Chicago to invest in the Sun Belt, and you did very well. And that was because you knew where you were going, knew how to handle the shift and the change in the market, not because marketing got there or because marketing couldn't get there, or maybe both. I don't know.
Right.
But as Darren joined us late, let me give him a quick hello, and we'll jump right back into it. Professor Darren Hayes, nice to see you as always. Speaking of changing environments, I am inundated with this commercial about these guys and these phishing attacks on my text messages, how they're going to sneak there and steal all my data and take away my wealth, or not wealth, depending on who I'm talking to. Nice to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
As we go through all these shifts and these adjustments, and we talked about regulation and changes, the fat tax, MLS is under attack, business is under attack, real estate under attack. I'm always happy to have you here because it's a great touchstone for the rest of us, because it's not just cybersecurity, it's physical security. It's getting into buildings, understanding your footprint, what you're doing and how. And you helped me years ago after I was hacked, and you helped our audience, so thank you. Is there any? I know ransomware continues to be on the rise, and that's a huge problem. And I know AI continues to be on the rise, so I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But is there any large, significant change that you can bring to the group, to the industry, that they should be aware of since we last saw you?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, it's all about ransomware. I mean, Russia's been increasing their attacks on the US, and
but not cellular, not the giant AT&T outage, because I have to
ask.
Customer.
Yes, these so-called incidents, probably to do with hacks or disturbances from other countries. I am very concerned about, Russia. That's been increasing their attacks. Of course, this is related to the West's support of Ukraine. And I think that, it's when I hear some people in Congress talking about not giving Ukraine funds, they don't realize the billions and billions that we're losing probably every month from money that's been taken from businesses by attacks by Russia, for example. I've been a little bit out of the loop recently in terms of the latest cybersecurity malware and attacks. Been working tirelessly on a counter human trafficking event, which we just held at Pace for a couple of days. But we were also learning about, and it was very moving. It's a bigger problem than we realize, and we were learning a lot about, and I was talking as well in the conference about the use of technology to try and stop human trafficking and labor trafficking. And we often think that this human trafficking and particular labor trafficking happens in other countries, but it's absolutely huge in this country because a lot of this problem gravitates to where the most money is being paid. And unfortunately, people are viewed as a commodity, and they will market people in an economy where they fetch the highest price. And fortunately, that's how the New York Stock Exchange came into being, was the sale of slaves. But we were talking about open source intelligence, and AI is going to play a pivotal role in this. And so, one of the things that we've been working on is the use of AI in investigations. So when looking at pictures of missing children and trying to identify where these children might be, it can be through looking at features, great geographical features. It could be looking at foliage. car makes and models, license plate designs. And so technology can really help us with this type of crime. And more lately we've been focusing on AI to solve a lot of these crimes and find missing children.
So I've always been a big proponent to say that AI is like a day one intern, right? You have to check their work. You have to realize they're doing it wrong, but they will do a lot of work for free. And so I think having that extra muscle is fantastic. But as we talk here about the different groups, regulation, and things being caught up, and not at all taking away from how big human trafficking is, because I saw a documentary on this just the other day, and it broke my heart. It is an immense problem in this country and across the world. So I'm sorry I missed you at that conference. I know you invited me, but I'm glad you were there, and it is an immense problem. Where do people go to learn more on that? Just as a quick aside, and I'm going to put it in the show notes post the call before we go down this very sad rabbit note.
Sure. No, absolutely. So there is, you can learn a lot about this. One resource that comes to mind is the Blue Campaign, which is run by Homeland Security Investigations within the DHS. And they have lots and lots of resources about how to recognize trafficking, how to help people, and just tremendous resources. So look out for Blue Campaign. That's really a great resource to start with.
So that most recently, so I go to Walmart, right? So for those of you who don't know, in Walmart on the back wall by the restrooms, in any Walmart anywhere in the country, you will see missing persons, right? And it's if you notice it, once you notice it, you cannot stop noticing it. This is an insane problem in our country and all over the world. Just do pay attention here. Thank you for bringing it up. You totally chased every other thought out of my mind when you did.
I know. Sorry for that.
I'm at a loss, but it's a huge issue.
Darren, is cryptocurrency how people pay for that evil way of?
Don't pay for it in real estate. I'll tell you that. But go on.
It's typically a cash business, but it's very much connected with many other types of illicit activities. Narcotics being the main one, but also leads into kind of transactions of weapons, 3D guns. They're all connected with this as well. It's part of the business portfolio of these guys. So it's it's a business. It's worth trillions of dollars worldwide. It's worth billions of dollars in the US, and it's very difficult to deal with. I mean, we're talking about very, very young children sometimes, and games are a big problem. Roblox, Minecraft, all of these kids' games are being used by the perpetrators to groom children, and people are working with a lot of different platforms to try and bring about change and bring about awareness and have more corporations deal with this, because not enough corporations are actually monitoring this. One of the things that I like is that they actually did a lot of studies on how big a problem it was in the UK, and this resulted in the Modern Slavery Act being introduced. The first Slavery Act was introduced in the US 150 years ago, and the Modern Slavery Act is interesting because what every UK company has to do is that they have to actually post on their website their policy on human slavery, and they have to verify that they've been through all of their supply chain to verify that there is no labor trafficking, miners working in sweatshops, that kind of thing. And that's really a big deal over there. And companies can be fined quite a bit of money if they find that those companies have not done their due diligence and have child labor as part of their supply chain.
Which is a victory against child labor, right? So that's awareness.
Yes.
That's people actually paying attention, which is huge. They weren't.
Yes.
Just recently, I was lucky enough to work with the New Haven Police Department K9 unit. We're bringing them into our vacant buildings because why not? That traffic, having those police cars there, even for a day, for a training exercise, means that it is less likely that these vacant buildings that we're selling or leasing are going to be used for crimes, no matter the scale.
Sure, sure. I think one of the big problems is that, and this again is how it kind of affects all of us and all of you, is that, how do you recognize victims of labor trafficking? They could be coming in and cleaning out the waste paper baskets in your offices. You don't know. They look like regular people going to work. That's one of the big issues today. And how do you solve that? It's kind of a hidden thing, in society.
Darren, I'll tell you, one of the things, I was at our Greater Oak Brook Chamber of Commerce luncheon today with Anna Maria Kwalik, and the police chief of Oak Brook, and remember, Oak Brook is a suburb of Chicago, and it has Oak Brook Mall, which is one of the top 3 best malls in America. It's phenomenal, and the police chief said that they just finished installing and having everything up to speed for the license plate readers. When people come into the mall, everybody's license plate will be read, and that's going to be helpful to deal with trafficking. Any bad person that comes in is going to be, pinged, and then the police will be able to go after them. Which I didn't realize they're ready to do that kind of technology in malls, but because Oak Brook Mall is such a destination place in the country, it's really amazing to see that. And they're also trying to they have installed cameras throughout the mall where the police, if they get a call, they can in real time turn into the videos, and they can be able to help protect people that way too. So from a technology standpoint, it's just amazing what can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a little disappointing that in San Francisco they've outlawed facial recognition, because that's used to solve a lot of criminal cases and abductions of people. So when we think about the government and this kind of thing, the information that we get as part of investigations, they come from the big corporations. It's not the government spying on people, and that's a message I always try to drive home, is that there's very strict limitations on the use of data by government entities, and less so with corporations on what data they can collect. And so that kind of thing, like license plate reader technology, facial recognition, are really, really key. And Andreas, you did mention one thing, what's kind of changed. And one of the things that's changed is that there's been a move in Congress to remove something called a geofence warrant. And so law enforcement can no longer get these geofence warrants, and they've labeled this as being a privacy concern. It's being pushed by Google and other technology companies in Silicon Valley, that they wanted to remove the ability of law enforcement to use these geofence warrants. So this is where you have a crime that's being committed and you don't know who the perpetrator is, and you request a geofence warrant, which will tell you generally who is in the vicinity of a particular area at a certain time, so that you can narrow down and find a small list of suspects. So you find a murdered body or a victim of any crime, and it's been key to finding people who've been murdered, including employees of these Silicon Valley companies. And it's really sad that there's just been so much misinformation about this being a privacy concern, because these requests are not made without the approval of a judge, and the judge checks to see if every other resource has been exhausted before these types of requests go through. So unfortunately, that's some legislation that was pushed through in California with a lot of misinformation.
Well, but legislation, regulation, it's all a bit of a balancing act, right? To get the yes or the no. And as far as the geofencing warrants, it's not so much finding the victims, it's finding those in close proximity, knowing their heart rate if they're wearing an Apple Watch, knowing if they pulled up at what time, if their car's newer than 2016. All these things are tracked. I can say personally, I love the fact that all the cell phones are tracked, because I know how busy my retail user is in any given shopping mall. And I can rank every store nationwide at the click, at three strokes on a keyboard. I know that this is the best operating Chick-fil-A in the country, because all of that data is there. But what you're saying is that police can no longer drill down and unpack and get that exact person, which is back to that whole algorithms change, regulation change. It's just things are disjointed. So
Yeah, and in case I haven't mentioned it before, one last thing. Sorry, I've been talking for a while, but if you want to find out how you're being tracked and get a sense of how you're being tracked with your phone, for example, even if you're an iPhone user, more than 99% of iPhone users have some type of Google app on their phone, so you're being tracked through that. Do a Google takeout. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So just do a search for Google Takeout, and you can download a file which will contain all of the information that's being collected about you. And so you'll see things such as Google knows when you're sitting in your chair and what time and what your location is, when you're walking, when you're on a bicycle, when you're in a plane, whatever you're doing, your location at all times. And I'm not just talking about Google. There's many other social media companies out there, but Google is a good example, and it's very easy to go on, make a request, and you'll see just the kind of information that's being collected about you.
Well, but so as I pointed out, some of that information is helping growth, helping evolution, helping us figure out where certain services need to be, right? What areas are not populated or troublesome spots. So there's good and bad mixed in, and I wish the police department well on that. This particular program is with the K9 unit, and trust me, the K9 unit, regulation or not, they're gonna find what they need to as long as they know where to go. But while we're on algorithms, and thank you, Darren, because as always, everything you say for me hits home and helps me adjust. Regulations change, algorithms change, marketing is changing. How do we market, or how could we market now here in 2024 in March? Or is it just an AI mess and ask AI?
You can ask AI some things. Some things it's great. If you wanted to create some customized CSS code for your website, that's a fantastic thing to ask AI.
Unless you're using proprietary information, but that's
exactly. If you're asking, the CSS code to turn a box blue, that is not challenging or anything remotely proprietary. It's just code, and that is an easy cut and paste. We've talked before a little bit about, will the commercial real estate broker become obsolete because of AI? And we've talked a lot about how our job is to be the analysts of the data that we're getting. And Andreas, when you were talking about store performance, for instance, I've had some clients who've had some of those more sophisticated, highly expensive subscriptions that provide that cell phone data, but they have discovered that because it only allows for a 3-minute window, that people go through drive-thrus faster than 3 minutes. And so their data isn't being collected, or the data that shows that a store isn't as high performing as another store because may not be accurate, because they're doing it based on traffic, not based on the size of the actual purchase. So in their particular market, there's I think it was actually a Chick-fil-A, since you mentioned Chick-fil-A. It was a Chick-fil-A where people go in and buy dinners for their families and take them home. So it's not the highest performing store in the market. It's actually, by human count, it's the lowest, but people are taking orders for 6 or 8 people home, and it actually does the biggest sales. So with any data, our job is to interpret, analyze, and certainly always check the premise, check what the data being collected is actually, what data is actually being collected, and then to interpret that data. So when we think about changes in marketing, and we think about algorithms and things that we react to and that we don't control, I always say that we play in a sandbox, and we didn't build the sandbox. We just have to adapt to it. One of the pieces in like the new Google algorithm changes in particular are finding ways to be an expert on a topic, that once your core vitals to your site are positive and performing as they should be, which means that it's being checked responsive first. Your website needs to be responsive. Google checks mobile first, and it's from like 2019. So it's been doing that for quite a while, that it's doing mobile first, adding the core web vitals of fast loading, which it may involve adding a CDN like Cloudflare that stores a lot of material at a lot of different servers across the country so that the load is so much faster. There's a lot of different ways that you can navigate those pieces, recognizing how things are changing, and then also recognizing that we're all going to need to continually adjust. Not looking at marketing as static, but looking at it as fluid, looking at it as something that we do need to respond to and be at least somewhat well read, or know people who can help us and will answer questions on whether this is universally applied. I had clients today who've seen their website traffic go down, but they've seen their website traffic go down just like everybody else has seen their website traffic go down with the changes in the Google algorithm. Like, it's okay, you guys. You didn't do anything wrong. This is literally what we're all navigating right now. And very, very smart people are changing how they're doing SEO because of what Google tells us, how they're prioritizing expertise in very specific topics, that we're building little SEO hubs with keywords in a different way this month than I did 2 months ago. So things change continuously. In the end, you can't stop, because if you stop trying, the world progresses beyond you. Everybody else keeps moving. So it's similar to how during COVID, did you just take time off and sit at home and not do anything, or did you keep moving? Because you have to keep moving and growing your business. Anytime that you do take a pause, just recognize that other people are still going to be moving. And I don't think any of us wants to fall behind, and certainly not just because we're being inattentive. That's not a fair reason to fall behind.
So the absolutely true. Many people are looking at the industry, and it's very easy to fall into this realm of cynicism and just say, you know what, I'm not doing it. I'm going to sit back. I can't. There's too many changes. Or look ahead, drive through. Saul's been through many cycles here. I'm picking on you, Saul. More so on the places data and other data. I mean, you've been there early on, and now as we go end to end with IceX and Darren, I did not know that, and Becca, about New York Stock Exchange, how that started. That blew my mind. But so what are your thoughts here as you sit there?
Yeah, well, were you on the call yesterday, Andreas, with Modern Tech? Did I see you on there?
Maybe. Depends. Was it a good call or a bad call?
Yeah, it was a good call. So I've been in the technology adoption business for 30 years. And when we're in the technology, in real estate primarily, when you're in the technology adoption business, in real estate, like in anything, you have to be very careful about saying that you're going to be replaced by technology. Because if your customers are using technology, and in my case, they're real estate professionals, and this is the way it is for all the technology companies that sell into the real estate space, they always want to say, but you're always going to need a human being. This is what they always say.
True.
But you're always going to need. So I was an advocate of that position for years, and so I, introduced a lot of technology in the real estate business, and I always said this. And one of the reasons you have to say that is you don't want to tell your customer that they're going to be obsolete. Because you start telling your customer that they're going to be obsolete, they don't want to listen to you anymore. Okay, so I've been an advocate of that. I can tell you that lately I've changed my mind, that I actually believe that you can be replaced, that people sell AI short. They're looking at the short window and not the long window. I know that eventually the AI and the technology will be better at filling out real estate forms, as complex as they are, than most realtors are. They'll make less mistakes than most realtors make. AI and technology will do a better job at open house of guarding the medicine cabinet than I could do. AI could send a driverless car to pick me up and take me to the listing. And now we're getting to the point in the show where we have to give what do we think of the future, or a tip? And I'd say, don't sell AI short. Don't be caught short. AI is a paradigm shift. When a paradigm shifts, everyone goes back to zero. Your past success can block your vision of the future. And so you sit smug and snug where you are and you miss out. So looking at AI, look at the long term, and the long term, it might be a year or 18 months. But I think a lot of the things that we believe you always are I think AI is going to be better at soothing the buyer's remorse than a human being will be able to do, just because of the power of reaching so much resource in such a short period of time. So beware. Don't take it lightly, because it really is a change in the world.
Well, so I will say that AI, from my point of view, AI won't replace you. Someone using AI will, because of that human overlay. So AI is not.
Well, that's an old argument. That's an old argument.
But it's a true argument. Look around the room.
No, it's not. We used to use that argument. We used to say technology will not replace realtors. Realtors who use technology. This is what we were saying 30 years ago. That's changed, Andreas. That's changed. And all I'm saying
Pro
is
now AI Pro. Still a certification for realtor.
Don't sell it short. People will be, you have to be careful about this, because it's more powerful, and we enable people to kind of fall back and feel safe and snug in their world. But the fact is, there's dramatic changes coming that most people cannot see, and it will impact their lives. And so if we pay attention, if we pay attention, we're going to be able to work through it. But if we just believe it's never going to be able to replace us, we're in trouble. That's where the opportunity is.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Look, AI is supposed to replace every long-haul trucker in the U.S., right? The numbers are in the tens of thousands. Those are people out of work eventually. The checkout at the grocery store, automated checkout, right? Also supposed to replace us. Should have been complete years ago. What I'm saying is one day, someday, yes, but not before I retire, and I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. And Darren here on cybersecurity, he is short on cybersecurity specialists, but AI isn't up to snuff. Dan Inland at IT and Tech Awards up and down the last 5 years on innovation. Are you guys hiring? Are you guys removing people? No, you're doubling down on your people. CPACE, marketing, all Becca included, marketing especially. There's so much data, and you'd think AI could be smarter.
But I'm going to say
it will be
one day. I'm not shorting it. I'm just saying I'm not sold yet. Personally.
Andreas, as I was growing up, I used to watch the Jetsons cartoon, and it sounded so cool, and I couldn't wait to have all of that tech that they were doing, and the flying cars and everything else. Guess what? It's my lifetime. I just aged another year this month. I've already passed my birthday, like Saul. And let me tell you that this is all just doubling down and going faster and faster. So I have to kind of side with Saul a little bit.
And fair point. But respectively, how long does one of us stay in each of our different career paths? And do we evolve into a better career? There could be a Saul AI version that's writing books and teaching the next generation. Literally.
I know, there will be.
And there should be, right? And that's okay. But that's you transcending your value into technology.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, unfortunately, I'm with Saul, because I think it is this time. We've talked about robotics in the past and all these kinds of things, but there's always been that differentiator because the technology didn't quite look human enough. And AI is there at the moment. You can create a video of a person that you cannot tell the difference. You can create a picture of somebody where you cannot tell the difference. And so that is the issue, is you don't know who you're talking to. And AI is at that point where it mimics very well what we do. And robotics is not that far behind it. You know, if you look at the latest robotics, it's up there. It's mimicking what humans do. And that's That's pretty frightening.
But it's a good thing that commercial real estate is a contact sport. You have to meet in person, right? So you can't fake that. And add to that the industry is still 70% opaque on the data side. So the AI doesn't have enough to pull from to learn from. Residential's much sooner than commercial. Is that a fair point? Saul, there's just more data. Or rather, Darren, without a data set large enough, can AI learn? And then to Saul.
CoStar. They got a lot of data.
A lot of researchers.
They got a lot of. So the point there is the things that we think a human being is necessary at this point might not be necessary in the foreseeable future. And I mean,
I agree.
Still within my lifetime, and I already told you how old I am.
Ageless. I got you. But no, let's be honest. You're right. There are tasks that AI can do. How many people in your office, in any office, are now turning to ChatGPT on their phone? I've literally been checked 3 times teaching a class on ChatGPT by a student now on real estate. So I agree. I absolutely agree. There are so many tasks we can offload. But as most will tell you, AI still hallucinates. It still needs someone to care for it and understand when it hits the rails. And commercial real estate is an important part of it. It's a huge transaction, touches many professionals across many silos of data. I don't see it yet, but in my Jetsons era, absolutely. Look, let's take it to Back to the Future. Flying cars are here. Blow up sneakers are here. All of it's here except the time machine, I think. Darren, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it is. But actually, you can't. You got to do it next month because we're down to 5 minutes to the hour. And as much as I love debating AI, all I know is, at least on my side of the fence here at the third part of the show, selling A-quality assets, more and more popping online. Land is aplenty, or is becoming aplenty. And consumer confidence, developer confidence to build new homes. We don't have enough inventory. We need new buildings. B&C is in trouble, but that's okay. That's what brokers are here for, to help troubled properties find new owners, especially thanks to the 1031 exchange and other programs, right? So
amen to that.
Inland doesn't have inland AI yet, right? Can I ask that outright?
I'm actually a hologram right now. I'm actually in Saul's office.
Hey, I'm telling you, Saul, you've books, you've spoken enough, you're on video, and I firmly believe you can create the Saul Educator AI. It's maybe not as good, mind you, but you see how it wouldn't be as good? Just throwing it out there.
Andreas, I'm going to say the old saying is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is part of life as well. So I don't think it's one or the other. It's AI or no, or not at all. I think it's going to be the mixture of both. But we shall see what happens.
I love that. Network is your net worth, right? Moving around the room as we go. Becca's to the right here, but whoever wants to jump in, by all means.
So I just want to encourage everybody to pay attention. Don't be afraid of changes in technology. Ask somebody, get help, talk to your IT people, talk to your marketing people about what changes they're seeing and how that impacts the way that you've typically done business. And please, if you're going to Vegas for ICSC, toss me a note on LinkedIn. I would love to have you come to the luncheon that my clients host on Monday. We'll see you soon.
And with tomorrow being International Women's Day, and I'm following my fellow woman here, I will go ahead and just remind everyone that spring is in the air. And of course, with spring comes green. And remember CPACE for any of your upcoming energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. And just reach out for any assistance. Be glad to help.
Darren?
Change your passwords. How about that? Password hygiene.
But isn't there an AI password generator? No, I'm sorry.
Password managers. Think about password managers. I mean, how many passwords do we use? This week when we were at the Human Trafficking Conference, we were going through some tools with lots and lots of passwords that have been exposed out there. There's tools that many people are using. I think you'd be surprised if you knew how many times your password is being shared by many of these services out there. So change your password.
And there are a few that will tell you, right? So there are a few services you can subscribe to protect you that are going to tell you about data breaches. And are those accurate? Are those enough? Just throwing it out there.
Oh, no, absolutely. So some of the students were just shocked about how their passwords, we were able to see all their passwords and how they're being reused. And they owned up to, yeah, that's my password. You found it. So lots of those services out there.
Well, the services are out there. The people are there to help. The industry is changing, but not that quickly. Although, Saul, you have said on the show many times, it takes 10 years for any effective change to occur. It starts today. It'll be here in 10. So I'm just going to point in. Are we saying in 10 years, realtors are obsolete?
Today is the end of a 10-year period.
And the start of a new one.
Today is the end of a 10-year period. So I'm back to when a paradigm shifts, everyone goes back to zero. And
your past
success guarantees nothing. So what happens is people get too comfortable in their success. And don't get too comfortable in your success because things are changing quickly, and that might blind you from seeing the next opportunity.
Couldn't agree more. Speaking of next opportunities and growth, two things here. One, I want to thank our audience. So we are now over 3,000 tune-ins, downloads monthly. That puts us in the top 20% of shows globally. That is huge. I also want to thank our show producer, Reagan Mendoza, in the background there, my fellow co-hosts. And the second thing, I don't want you to miss CRETech London. While we don't have sponsors or advertisers, CRETech London is Europe's leading innovation and sustainability conference. Elite speakers, cutting edge tech, networking. CRETech New York, you all know, we've spoken about it many times. Take care of each other, network, grow. Your network is your net worth. And to close us out today is none other than Dan Wagner to back me up on the anti-AI movement, I hope.
I'm going to say register to vote because right now is politics time. We know who the major candidates are going to be, but let me tell you, Congress, the House and the Senate, make sure you find out who your candidates are who are running and where you live, and find out how they are going to be impacting your livelihood. And then make sure to vote accordingly. But it's important, whatever you do, make sure to vote, but be educated. So I'm going to be ringing that bell from here until November. All right.
Hey, thank you. And to our audience, don't forget, tune in anywhere you get your audio, your video, across every social media channel, Stitcher, Google, Spotify, Pandora, or ask Alexa to tune in. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where there's a host of videos, past sector interviews, as well as other content. Please do share, rate, and review us. It really does help. Thank you again for tuning into this month's roundtable, powered by CRECollaborative, with my fellow collaborators. And we look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Roundtable, powered by CRECo.ai, your source for the latest in real estate and technology. For past episodes, sector interviews, and more great content, follow us on all social media and YouTube at CRECollaborative. You can also find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. Please like, subscribe, and share. It really does help. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next Real Estate Roundtable.